The Little Prince. Once upon a time there was a king whose son was very conceited and ill-mannered. The prince was very unkind and cruel towards everyone. The king and his courtiers tried their best to make the prince understand that his behavior created a bad impression on the people. But the prince paid no attention to their advice. One day, a sage came to the king's court. He carried a bowl in his hand for collecting alms, and he had a glowing face. The gait of the sage suggested that he was blessed with divine knowledge. The king and his courtiers welcomed the sage with great honor. The king came to know that the sage was in search of a good dwelling for himself. The king immediately offered him a hermitage inside his palace, and the sage accepted the offer. In their discussion, one day the king said to the sage, "You would have come to know by now that my son is very ill-mannered. He has no love or compassion towards anyone. The people of my kingdom call him an unworthy prince. They don't want him as a king. I beg you to reform my son." The sage assured the king that he would do his best to change the behavior of the prince. The next day, the sage took the prince for a walk through the garden of the palace. Pointing to a tiny plant, he said to the prince, "Eat a leaf of this plant and tell me how it tastes." The moment the prince tasted the leaf, he spat it on the ground. The sage said, "It seems to be a poisonous seedling. If it is allowed to grow into a big tree, it may prove dangerous for the health of many people." The prince pulled the tiny plant out of the ground and tore it into pieces. Then the sage picked up that plant and said to the prince, "As you have reacted in case of this plant, the people of your kingdom may one day react in the same manner with you. They think you are a wicked prince. They may not allow you to rule the kingdom. So, it's better that you mend your ways to generate feelings of mercy, compassion, and kindness in your heart." The prince understood the message of the sage. From that day on, he was a changed person. He made an honest effort to become humble, kind-hearted, merciful, and lovable to others.